3 words, 8 letters, 1 meaning. Let's go.
Came a long way sitting in a prison, thinking it was the only place that ever fitted. Now Michael Molthan with us, and you know we got the vision. This is not a competition, man, it's all about the mission. This is them to the rock, you don't stop. The show start on a weekday, right at 7 o'clock. Mad Miles in the booth, we got Johnny on sound. Call Julie the boss lady, let her know what's going down.
This is them to the rock, you don't stop. The show start on a weekday, right at 7 o'clock. Got the paparazzi, call him Danny Cambo. With the picks, you can't pick, every one of them is gold. And that one young lady that wants you to be free. Everybody say it with me, love you, Mama P.
That's right, that's right. Okay, here we go. Gather round, gather round, gather round, clowns. Michael Molthan, M2 The Rock, coming to you live from Dallas, Texas, baby. D-Town, the 214. And man, have we got a show today for you. I know everybody has been very excited about this show. We've been putting it on blast here the last couple of days in studio. Before we get to our in-studio guest, and I'm so grateful to have this guy, man, just straight from the tarmac. Got a couple hours of sleep and coming in here and just sticking to his commitment, and what an honor it is to have the great Steve-O in studio today on M2 The Rock. What do you think, Anna? Pretty exciting, huh?
I am so stoked. I can't believe it. I've been running around. I can't believe it, Michael.
We're just so excited. We're coming to you live on Facebook Live, Twitter. We are also coming to you live on our YouTube page, YouTube Live, as we speak. I'm seeing everything building up, populating. This is a show that you need to share out, okay? There's a share button down there. Share this out, because we are going to be delivering a message of hope as we talk about, and if you're just joining us for the very first time, what is M2 The Rock? Who's this freak of nature talking? I'm going to get to that, but real quick before we get anything, this show is brought to you by the Great Recovery Unplugged. Recovery Unplugged out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Virginia. Coming soon right here in Dallas, in Plano, Texas, just north of here. Recovery Unplugged, where music they use as a hook. They've got the lowest AMA rate in the country. When people go, that they don't leave, they don't bounce, they don't blast off. They get in there and they start feeling safe, and they use music to work recovery. And I think we can all relate to that in music. This shows off the DFW Coin and Jewelry. And so far, Mama P, thank you so much for everything that you do. And I want to welcome right now, everybody share this out to the show. Jackass, comedian, I saw a title, idiot, all this. The great Steve-O, welcome to M2 The Rock. What an honor to have you here in Dallas, Texas. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, man.
I appreciate you. And, you know, I've been watching the guests that we've had on this show, and just to kind of introduce myself to you, I'm a recovering drug addict alcoholic. And, man, I fought this thing to the bitter end. I mean, when I took my very first sip of alcohol at the age of 10 years old, something happened. Just something happened where the euphoric feeling, the muscles in my stomach just relaxed. And just for that one moment, I experienced the feeling of just peace in the now. And once I took that first drink of alcohol, Steve-O, then I started huffing. I saw you doing the nitrics and all that. And all the things that I would do, I was addicted to doing things that was going to change the way I felt. And I think as a recovering addict or in the disease, you can relate to that. First of all, before we get into your story, why are you in town? What are you doing here in Dallas?
I'm doing shows at the Addison Improv.
We're really glad. Hey, what is your I've seen so much, and everybody has seen so much of what you do on YouTube and on the internet and on TV, MTV or MTV. Crazy, man. You've done some really, really bizarre stuff in your past. Do you still do that today? Do you still do the radical, call it stunts, right?
You call it stunts. Stunts, pranks, yeah, I do all of it. And I've been doing stand-up comedy for the last almost 9 years on this circuit, and now it's I've married my worlds together, so it's a multimedia show.
Staying busy, don't
It's
you?
called the Bucket List Tour.
The Bucket List Tour, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying that they said they've already seen it. Great reviews. The Bucket List.
Man, thank you.
What's kind of some of the stuff you talk about just to tease it? I mean, what's your hustle?
Well, the premise is that I'm in an awful predicament. I'm Steve-O in my 40s, and I feel like I might be running out of time before it gets creepy to watch me do all the Jackass stuff. And while I still got it in me, I'm pushing real hard to raise the bar one more time and going after this list of ideas that was I never thought I was actually going to go through with them. It's really absurd, outrageous stuff. And one by one, I've been knocking them out, and I made a whole act about it, and how, each item on the list, the implications on my relationship. It's some pretty crazy stuff there. And
what's one of the things on the bucket list?
The vasectomy Olympics, skyjacking, and cauliflower ear. I'm working on getting cauliflower ear.
Now, what is that? Cauliflower ear?
It's like the ultimate fighters.
Okay.
Those guys have messed up ears.
How do you do that? I mean, what's the process? You get in a fight, or you just kind of just stick it in a door and slam it?
We use my ear as a golf tee, among other things. Trying to find colorful ways that are, kind of creative to get cauliflower. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on the list. And after each bit in the show, I screen the exclusive footage of it actually happening.
Wow. Now, when you started doing this, Steve-O, is it safe to say, was some of this stuff a lot? Obviously, I can't relate to stunt work. I mean, I got up last night and went to the bathroom. I stubbed my pinky toe walking to the bathroom, and I was down for 8 hours. I mean, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And I thought about you. I was like going, man, the things that you've done as far as physical pain, is there some masking there? Was there some stuff that you were using that it was actually, you think it was an addiction or some sort of form of cutting, or is this just what you like to do? Does it have any parallel to addiction?
I think the only real thing is that I've always been an attention whore.
Okay.
And I think that there's probably some some addiction. I mean, I think addiction bleeds into like every area of life. Just because I haven't had a drink or a drug in over 11 years, that doesn't mean that I don't, find ways of soothing. Like I had gotten all kinds of trouble with sexual acting out, and then now I'm in all kinds of trouble with food. So it's not like we're all better and we don't do the same things we did with drugs and alcohol with other things.
Right. Well, I want to take some we talked about this earlier. I want to take some risk here. There's so much stuff out there about you on the internet and out there where people can research Steve-O and what you're known for. It's fun. It's entertaining. I caught myself watching it. I caught myself saying, oh, my God. I'm like going, man, this guy's a riot. I've heard of you before. We've got some mutual friends we were talking about before the show. But I really want to kind of take a different one to put into the library of Steve-O, and that's recovery. Okay? And you and I both, we can relate to drug addiction and alcoholism, that our life became completely unmanageable of this, and I was powerless over drugs and alcohol. I want to get to know Steve. I mean, can you take us down memory lane of when that first time that you used or drank and something happened, and then where we're at today? Can you walk us down that, the first time that you used, and you knew something was wrong?
I mean, I hear people talk about having their first drink, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't remember any, I remember, like, barfing, the first time I got drunk on my own initiative, I was a huge fan of Motley Crue. The year was 1987, and being a real fanatic of Motley Crue, I knew that January of that year, they had, like, the date that they formed as a band, and on that date, I was prepared to celebrate the 6 years, and I remember like creepy chopping apart a magazine and taking like the letters,
like a murder, like a ransom note.
Right. And I put it together in the happy 6th anniversary with 2 X's, like as a nod to Nikki Sixx. and I mailed it to their fan mail department, and I stole a bottle of red wine from my parents' wine cellar. And so on the morning of the anniversary of the formation of Motley Crue, I drank from this bottle of wine on my way to school. I remember there was snow. I cut through this construction site house across the street. And I drank some, not too much, but I drank a little bit of wine, left the bottle there, and then after school I came right back and I guzzled the rest of it. Now I remember it was this is the first time I really got drunk, like properly drunk, like on my own, and I was 12 years old. So I come in from after school drinking like this whole bottle, and I come in and I remember being like kind of proud of myself, thinking, I really got wasted, like whatever, like now I'm like I felt this was kind of cool. Went in and I picked up the phone and I called somebody. I don't think either of my parents were home. When I picked up the phone, I called my buddy to let him know I was drunk and I'm so crazy, and the guy was you're creepy, you're weird, and I remember I didn't hang up the phone. I just left it off the hook, sitting on this table, and then I went into the kitchen, and recently, or before, shortly before this, my parents had been given a gag gift of a breathalyzer. It was sort of not like it's a serious thing. It was more of like a party thing, and so I remember I knew where it was, and I thought, oh man, I'm crazy. I got drunk, Motley Crue, and I went and grabbed the breathalyzer, and I turned it on, I blew in it, and sure enough, the needle went,
right.
Wasted, whatever, and I left that on the kitchen counter, and I didn't put it away or anything. And then I went upstairs and here it comes, and I'm like, I'm gonna barf, and I ran to the toilet and barfed this whole bottle of red wine into the toilet, and didn't flush it, and then I just passed out in my full clothes. And at the time I went to this school where you wore like a suit and tie with a green blazer and everything, fully clothed, passed out 5 p.m, on the bed. And now my dad was, I think, the first to get home, and he came shortly after that. And he had noticed that there was a bottle of red wine missing from the cellar. I don't know how, but he knew that, he noticed it was missing. He thought, that's weird.
Yeah.
Comes home and finds, the first thing he sees, walks in, and says the phone is off the hook. That's weird. Walks in to the kitchen, finds the breathalyzer, and it's got the needle all that says someone's wasted. Goes upstairs, and here's his son just sprawled out along the bed, fully clothed, and then he walks in the room and looks in the toilet. He sees in the toilet like a bottle of red wine is barfed into the So it was that he put together what happened,
right?
And he didn't want to be overbearing or he wanted to handle it in a pragmatic way, and he kind of gently woke me up. He said, hey, he said, let's talk. He made the mistake of, because we had a pool table in the basement, and let's talk, we're going to talk about this. We talked about it in the basement over a game of pool, and I whooped his ass at pool. And so there's no punishment. There's no anything like that, but I think that more than anything, like my purpose in telling the story is that for all of the accounts I hear where something happened and they felt comfortable and they felt like they fit in, I don't remember any of that. I remember thinking I was wild and crazy and I was cool and I was doing it because I really looked up to the debaucherousness of Motley Crue, and this was the way I was going to honor them, and I really loved them so much. But I don't even remember feeling like the feeling of being drunk was particularly euphoric or pleasant or comforting. It was just like that, and I barfed.
Is it safe to say that alcohol and drugs became medicine to you? That's what it was for me. I mean, it was just, I had to have it to operate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I couldn't imagine, functioning without it. And yeah.
And the mental obsession that we struggle with, that's all we think about is our next fix, right? I mean, it's like, how in the heck am I going to go do this without being loaded or high or drunk? I mean, everything I did revolved around alcohol and drugs when I was in the disease.
Yeah, it certainly got to that point. I couldn't, I couldn't bring myself. I got to the point when I had to smuggle cocaine on flights with me, and that was, like noticeably, like, okay, I can't get through a flight without doing cocaine. I have to bring it on the plane,
right,
knowing how much trouble there is. And I remember because I fly a lot, and I noticed that the TSA, the security people in the airport, they always say, like, oh no, they'll hold your cash. Like, there's just a weird thing, they can't like dig through your cash, and your wallet. So I figured that out. They were always like, didn't want to touch your cash. So what I would do is fold up cocaine in my cash, and then one would be like a bill, like a dollar bill, whatever, with a bunch of cocaine. It'd be all folded up, and then that would be in the...
Like a paper football.
Yeah, and then that would be in the wad of cash in my wallet. And I felt pretty safe that was, and so I would do that, towards the end. And then ultimately, the week before my intervention, I had a colorful week, and I got arrested for vandalism. I bashed a hole through the wall in my apartment building, through the wall where I was looking into the neighbor's apartment and like yelling at him and threatening him through a hole that I just bashed in. So he, the cops came and I had no shirt on, I had no shoes on, and they said, we have to take you to jail for vandalism. And it's going to be cold in jail, so if you want, like, you can, go back into your apartment and put on a shirt and some shoes. And I'm all like, F a shirt, F shoes, I don't care, just take me, I'm ready, let's go. And, it's so hysterical to me that I could have very easily walked in to my apartment, taken the cocaine out of my wallet.
Right,
I could have put on a shirt and some shoes and sort of stealthily removed the cocaine from my wallet, but it didn't even occur. I was so loaded, it didn't even occur to me that it was in my wallet. So they took me to jail, barefoot, shirtless, and with a bag of cocaine in my pocket. And, and the police station, when they're processing you, for an arrest with charges, it's not like the TSA, security checkpoint in the airport. They go through your wallet.
Oh, yeah, everything.
So I was being, processed at the jail, and they re-arrested me for felony cocaine possession.
And now we have consequences as a result of our actions of this disease. In studio,
I had consequences immedially. Like, as soon as I was 16 years old when I started getting loaded every day, and all of the hospitalizations, the arrests, my grades plummeting. Like, it was stark how quickly the consequences rolled up, and I just didn't care.
Did you ever, and I can relate to that, I was the same way. Did you ever, when you were alone, when no one was around, and when it was just Steve-O and Steve-O, did you ever go, why do I do the things I do? Did you ever ask yourself that question? Were you ever in so much pain emotionally that, listen, I don't even want to be here anymore. Why am I doing these things?
Why am I doing what things?
Drinking and drugging, and why do I feel the way I do? Was there? Did you suffer? I did. I used to struggle with just darkness. I'd be out partying with everybody. I was the life of the party. Everybody loved me. But when I got home and I was alone, I was like going, why am I doing this? I don't like this. This is not who I want to be. I don't want to feel this way. Did you ever get to that in your disease?
Well, yeah, of course, man. I would look at what I was doing and just, I would see clearly that I was killing myself, and that there wasn't just anything I could do about it,
Right. In studio, we got the great Steve-O here in Dallas at the Improv Addison. He'll be live tonight at the Improv Addison. When we come back, we're going to wait for a 30-second commercial. It's a cool commercial. When we come back, we're going to talk about what are we doing today? I mean, how are we staying sober? The awakening, of the intervention, and what Steve-O's doing today. 11 years sober. You're helping me so much. I'm just coming up on 2 years. I mean, I'm a baby at this thing, and you're helping me so much. Michael Molthan, Into the Rock. We'll be right back.
8 letters.
Hey, welcome to Recovery Unplugged. Today was one of the best days of my life because in recovery, I saw God here. I saw a bunch of kids that are going to take this program seriously because of Richie Super. It let the kid out. Woo, boy! And we are in Florida. Yes. No, this was actually very, very special for me because in recovery, the only way to keep it is to give it away. And today was just as beautiful gets.
And I want to thank you for doing that and witnessing what we do with music because it's been a part of everybody's life, Like we said, the first thing you heard was your mama's heartbeat when you were in the womb. And that's music right there. So we're just taking it to the next step.
Yep. Music is, and we will prove here, the strongest drug of all.
Came a long way sitting in a prison, thinking it was the only place that ever fitted. Now Michael Molthan with us, and we got the vision. This is not
all
a
right,
competition,
welcome back.
About the mission.
I'm Michael Molthan. I'm host of Into the Rock that don't stop. We have in studio. We are honored. We're blessed. We're so excited to have the great Steve-O, who is in Dallas right now, performing at the Improv Addison on your bucket list tour. The bucket list tour. So check it out. We flashed up. Great job of the Steve-O. April 5th to the 6th at the improvaddison.com. Check it out. Also go to his page on Facebook, YouTube. Check it out. We also have in studio your sidekick, Wendy.
Hang on. I just want to ask one thing. Are there any tickets left? Please tell me yes, right?
There are tickets available right now.
Awesome.
Right now, everybody go to improvaddison.com. Get your tickets. Go see this. I've had a lot of feedback. It is a great event. I would love to come see. I can walk to where you're at, so I'd love to come see what you're doing and hang out with you a little bit, hanging out with Steve-O. So, we talked about what it was like, and thank you so much for being transparent. And Steve-O, how are you staying clean and sober today? Today, and I'll kind of tee it up. I am the type of alcoholic and drug addict. I have to go to support group meetings every day for me. I can't make it almost every day, but I'm at least 5 days a week. I'm that kind of alcoholic and drug addict. I have to surround myself with other alcoholics because I feel safe. They can relate to me. When I talk to them and I share my solutions to them, they start doing this. They start nodding. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. How does Steve-O stay clean and sober today? 11 years, homeboy. It's awesome.
Well, I mean, when we talk about the stuff that we do to stay sober, I tend to get pretty vague, just out of respect for the program. And I think that, in a general sense that, I'll answer this in a different way. When people ask me about rehab, they say, okay, is this rehab any good? Or can you recommend a rehab that is good? My feeling about that is that a rehab is basically the same concept as a gym. You get a gym membership. You can get a gym membership at some fancy exclusive place that's very expensive and nice and fancy, but that's not going to give you any better of a chance of getting physically fit as it is if you go to a gym that's dirty and cheap or free or you can find ways to exercise if you're in prison, for that matter. So I think that any rehab is really only as good as the work that you put into it, and I think that also that when you get into the fancy and expensive rehabs, I think that it becomes a little bit trickier because I don't believe the rehab is something that should cost a lot of. When you get into an expensive rehab, I look at it and I think, all right, well, what are people coming into rehab? What's their situation? Largely, it's they've created a great deal of wreckage. They've lost, if not everything, they've lost a lot. They're clearly not on a winning streak. They're coming in, probably without a job, they're probably just like not in a position where we're gonna add, where it makes sense to add to their wreckage like a whopping price tag on anybody who's going to come in to a sober living that costs thousands and thousands of dollars every month, or a rehab that costs like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just look at it and I think, okay, well, when we're dealing with recovery, there's a big piece of sweeping away the wreckage, and to add to it the wreckage, and then on top of that, what are you getting for all of this money that you're spending? You're kind of getting emphasis on entitlement, like you're getting pampered, and I don't think that a lot of pampering is really conducive to recovery. And really, there's only one thing that there's honesty. The capacity to be honest is a huge ingredient. And, honesty is really the main ingredient to recovery. And if you look honestly at the path that led you there, then I just don't see that a lot of expensive stuff is helpful. That's my feeling about rehab. And then I think that when it comes to and I get messages a lot on my social media platforms saying hey, I'm having trouble, how did you do it, and this and that. And at a private level, and I should say too that I'm not like personally responding to DMs. I have somebody who goes through my my Instagram direct message requests, and automatically deletes anything that I don't need to see as it relates to my relationship. I have a fiance. And I don't need to be having conversations with any chicks in the DM. And
I like that.
First and foremost, like my dude clears out. He clears out the chicks and just a lot of noise, a lot of dumb stuff. But to the people who are asking for advice and for help with matters related to recovery, he's got like a sort of he'll set that account aside, and then from his account he'll say, hey, I saw you asked about this and that, and here's a link that Steve wants you to have that by no means should be shared publicly, but it's kind of what he has to say when it's not at the level of media. And I shouldn't be probably drawing a lot of attention to this, because if there's going to be a lot of requests, the poor kid from his account, he can only send, I think 15 messages a day, 15 unsolicited messages. So he'll tell me too. He'll be like, oh, I've got like 60 people, that I'm waiting to send the link to, and now there's going to be a deluge, perhaps, which is what, the people who kind of forged the path,
right.
We're worried about, like, oh, we're going to be deluged. But, it is what it is. And I think that with that, and as far as, with regards to everything else that we do to stay clean and sober, I think that in a general vague sense, I just say that we don't do it alone. We don't do it alone, and the things that we do are not mysterious, by any stretch of the imagination. We've had, the good fortune of millions upon millions of people come before us to show us beyond any mystery, beyond any shadow of a doubt. It's proven what works and what doesn't work when it comes to treating the disease of alcoholism and addiction. There's no mystery. There's no chance. There's no, we know exactly what works and what doesn't work. And the path has been forged. The blueprint is solid. And if you want to address your problems with addiction and alcoholism, the first thing you do is you find someone who has addressed it, and you link up with that person, you let them show you the way. And I just kind of, it's a pack mentality.
And that's what's so. I mean, we say that all the time on this show. And when parents call me or reach out to me and say, "Listen, my son is struggling, my husband, my wife, whatever. What do we do?" And I simply say, first of all, you need to go get help. Okay, as the codependent.
Well, yeah, it's so much harder. I mean, it's easy for the addict who's got he's got all the comfort and the drugs and the alcohol, and that's their solution, even if it's turned on them. What's hard is for the loved ones of the addict. Like my buddy Bam is really in it, and it seems that the closest people to him, everybody around him, just do not have the ability. They don't have the willingness. They don't have the ability to step back, and stop contributing to him being sick and pledge only, to really commit themselves to only contribute to him being healthy. It's like every episode of Intervention on A&E.
Right.
They say there's from this point forward, there's nothing I will do to help you stay sick, and there's nothing I won't do to help you get healthy. And to watch the enabling continue, where it's like, well, I can't cut him off. I can't cut him off. It's like, okay, well then you're signing off on what he's doing, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah, love an addict, bury an addict. And it's so powerful. And that's one of the, my stories. I went to Betty Ford in 2002. Great facility, great treatment, surrounded by really cool people. I found my freedom in the penitentiary, and that's where I had my awakening at. It's what I put into it. Unfortunately, we have a disease that we have to self-diagnose ourselves. Before I can get help, get honest is what you were talking about. Honesty is so important. Before we wrap up, there's a question that I want to ask you, Steve-O, and I love asking celebrities who are. It doesn't matter. This disease doesn't discriminate. The difference between you and me and the man underneath the bridge is the bridge. This disease doesn't care who we are. But if I were to call you up and I said, "Hey, Steve-O, listen, I'm in a lot of fear today. I'm in a ton of fear. I woke up this morning and just had impending doom. I was anxious. I was freaking out. How am I start making these things up in my head that don't exist. Steve-O, help me. What do I do, man? I'm in a lot of fear, and I don't want to have a resentment, and I don't want to die."
Well, I think the first thing I would say is good job for speaking up about it. That's the power of vocalizing what you're feeling is not to be understated. When you speak up and sort of call out what it is that that you're so afraid of, that's not necessarily going to address. I mean, of course, you do the inventory work on it, but I think that largely the first step is speaking up about it, and then you can kind of break it down for what it is. Like I shared in an intimate setting. This is something that I'm going through that brings about a lot of fear, and one of my sobriety brothers told me. He said, "All right, thanks for sharing that, this and that." And he said that he read a book that was written in the 1940s, and he said, I think it was called "Stop Worrying and Start Living." And in the book, it talked about fear, worry, and it had this advice that whatever it is that you're worried about, whatever it is that you're afraid of, that you're worrying that might happen, go automatically to the worst possible case scenario. Ask yourself, what is the absolute worst way that this could play out? What is it? Paint the picture of the worst way it could possibly be, and then accept that. And once you've accepted that, ask yourself where you are now. And boy, that helped a lot, because we do, with fear, we do catastrophize, and we do, they let things get worse and they swirl around. I think that a lot of the time, just speaking up about it, speaking up about what you're afraid of, can take a lot of power out of it, because the fear, it'll take it on a life of its own, and we'll start weaving it into this story that's not even necessarily true. So first speaking up about it, and then, breaking it down for what it really is, and being, practical about assessing what's the worst situation that could possibly, arise from it, and accepting that situation. I think that was really good advice.
Steve-O, I want to take this. Thank you so much for sharing and stopping. You're busy today. You're Steve-O here in Dallas at the Improv Addison.
I feel like kind of a wuss for bailing out before you've got while you've still got one more break. But hey, dude, it's all good, man. I got very little sleep last night. I've been running around doing all these interviews since 6:30 in the morning, and I got to do 2 shows tonight. So, like whatever it is, man, I generally, too, if I'm, I should be honest, I generally shy away from media that is, specific to recovery. My attitude about it is that I don't know, I never shy away from speaking about my sobriety, from speaking about recovery. I never... Dude, I watch this will bring us into the next break, and I don't even mind because I do think that there's a valuable conversation to have about it. Is that I don't ever shy away from talking about recovery and sobriety, but I do shy away from any kind of a media outlet that is just about I don't ever want to do an interview that's involves the first priority, the ultimate, the purpose, for talking about recovery. Like if it comes up, that's great. But if that's the main, the main purpose, then I feel weird about that. And I think the reason is, if we look at the anonymity of people in recovery and how anonymous is a thing. The first reason why you hear people say that anonymity is important is because they say if somebody touts themselves as a spokesperson, look at me, look at I'm sober, look what I do,
right,
and then all of a sudden they get wasted, right, then people are going to look at that and they're going to say, you see, that program of recovery doesn't work. Right. To me, that's not an important reason for anonymity. It's not at all, and I'll tell you why. Is because it goes right back to the analogy about rehabs being like gyms. If you take someone who is like, look at me, I'm in tip-top physical shape, this gym's so great, and then all of a sudden that person stops working out and gets becomes a slob and looks like visibly overweight and out of shape. You're not going to look at that person and say, you see, that gym didn't work. Right. You're going to look at the person and say they stopped working out, Right. So it's not, I don't worry about, if I or anybody else was to relapse, that it's logical to jump to the conclusion that the program of recovery doesn't work. Because the only conclusion to jump to is that the individual stopped working the program of recovery. Come on. Yeah. The program of recovery only works if you work it. If you cease to work it, then yeah, you're gonna relapse. So I don't think that. And then if we're more real about it, like the founders of this path that we're on, the people who first forged it, the main reason that they put emphasis on anonymity was because. Because they didn't want to be deluged. They're like, hey, we still have our livelihoods, we still have our careers, we still, our career is not to be sober. It's like our survival is to be sober, and then that allows us to have a life. And if we're flooded, if we're not anonymous, we're going to be flooded. We'll never be able to live our lives normally. Right. So that was their main reason for anonymity, and that's valid. But I think that my main reason for anonymity and for really being particular about respecting the traditions, and the way that it is because, not because of what people are going to think about the program if I relapse, but rather if people use recovery, if they use the program as, hey, look at me. Hey, look at me! I'm in this program, and I'm doing this, and then it's real easy to start using their recovery, using their sobriety as a currency. as a currency for prestige, for reputation, for financial gain. And as soon as you start letting sobriety and recovery be something that benefits you with your reputation, with your career, then I think shit gets weird. That's why anybody who gets paid to speak about professionalism in recovery is something I'm really, really weird about. And with that said, I was like 1 year sober, and I had a documentary that we made about my downward spiral and my whole, early recovery, and my it was called Steve-O, Demise and Rise. And I remember being like really fucking scared because it was too late to back out of it. I tried to back out of it like a bunch of times. I was such a fucking mess in early recovery. Like, oh, I'm all in, I'd be calling to be like, I can't do it. Like, I'd call up, Tremaine in Knoxville. I'd be like, I can't do it. Pull the plug. I'm out, And then like, I'd be like freaking out, like full terror. And then like half an hour later, I'd call him back and be like, don't forget to interview Jeffrey Ross, or like something like that. It was just like, yeah, Knoxville sent me a photo of a traffic light with red and green lit up at the same time. He's like, that's you. But the biggest fear, I think, if I had like, there were a couple things about making that documentary. One was that I went in to look at an early draft of it, and I brought someone with me who was a sober guy, as like a sober companion, to go in and just view this early draft. And it was so striking to me about how when I walked out of watching that, and watching that entailed seeing like humiliating footage of myself, like you would think that like for me to see for the reality of what it was, me using, and especially at the end, like the way I was acting, the way I was, it's humiliating, and to see that, you would think that would be a deterrent, like, oh wow, God, that was embarrassing, like I don't ever want to look like that again, I don't ever want to act like that again. So you would think that would help me stay sober, when it was completely the opposite. Like, to see that footage of me drinking and using, it was like it planted me there, to see the substances on the screen, to see like all of a sudden it was just like it turned on a switch, kind of like where looking at it, I could taste the like it was, and it activated me in a way I was like, I cannot fucking look at that. And so it was a very early draft of that documentary, and then I didn't ever watch it again. I think I watched some of it years later. I know I did, but yeah, it was dangerous. It was dangerous, and the same thing goes for when I was a kid, and my mom was so desperately chronically alcoholic. I got every bit the education I needed to know not to fuck with alcohol, and sure enough, this is the first thing I did. So that's the insanity of the disease. But the fear I had with that documentary was, oh man, I'm waving the flag of like, I know David Lee Roth did it, like, and that's the thing, again, not about what am I going to do, the program's fine. The program's fine. Right. And there's nothing about the program that anybody should ever think it doesn't work if somebody relapses. Right. The thing is, when we're waving the flag and look at me, I'm all better now, and like I'm all better now, and I'm, I've got this program of recovery that's like, I'm using it for my advantage, then that inherently puts you in, it inherently means that your motivations are off kilter. And if you're off kilter, you're going to get speed wobbles. So I wanted to be really careful about that. And one thing that gave me a lot of hope going into that documentary was to look at James Hetfield of Metallica, and here I drew a lot of inspiration from that. And I got my 9-month chip, and in California, I think chips are different colors in different places. Right. California, our 9-month chip is yellow. Maybe it's the same.
Okay. Yeah, it's a different color here. Yes.
Yeah, it's plastic.
But it says 9.
Yeah, and so I went to this Metallica concert, and I was backstage, and this guy, James Hetfield's like personal manager or something. He was like, "Hey man, come with me." There was like a big party scene, a big party area. And I was kind of like hanging out, like sort of like, whoa, and He was like, hey, come with me. He took me like down the floor, I think, or some other area behind the arena. And, this really quiet, James Hetfield, who just wasn't in the party. It was just him chilling, He took me to meet him. And I'm telling you that it was crazy the way that the recovery just glowed off of that guy, like you could just see it, like you could just kind of so I asked him, I said how long have you been sober now, man? He said 7 years. This was I remember it being December of 2009, and December of 2008.
Okay.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, just because I got sober in 2008.
Okay.
And I remember because I got sober in March. It's the third.
Yeah, because you had 9 months when you saw it. Yeah.
Right. It was so in any case, I told him, he says 7 years, and I go, dude, I just got my 9-month chip, and I pulled it out of my pocket. It's this plastic chip, and yellow plastic chip. I said, I just got my 9-month chip. I held it up, and I go, no more plastic for me. Straight heavy metal from here on out. Because there's like the year ones are like,
right. Once you get to annuals, it turns into metal.
Yeah, medallions. I mean, not always, but yeah, and I got a little bit of a kick out of that. And the reason why James Hetfield, I bring him up, it's like so like important to me because there was a Metallica documentary. It was actually a full movie. It was called Some Kind of Monster. And in this, they were looking for a new bassist, I guess. Things went south with Jason Newsted, and they were auditioning for a new bassist. They were recording a new album. And all in the midst of this whole sort of, chapter of time was James Hetfield, in rehab and early recovery. And I remember watching that documentary for the first time, being just day 3 of a cocaine bender, and I was texting Lars Ulrich, like, oh, what is this, what is, like, and I remember feeling like kind of offended, like, wait, what? Because James Hetfield was talking about like, oh, I can only rehearse with the band like for an hour, like 3 hours. I've got to go with my yoga and with my this and with my that. I got to put my recovery first.
Which is so foreign to us. What are you talking about?
And when I was loaded, like that was not okay with me. I was like, oh, and it was like that whole movie. I mean, they talk about backwards thinking, and I'm like, I look at it now and it's so crazy. But he really put it out there, man. That movie, Some Kind of a Monster, that shows the vulnerability, like it was just so raw, man. Like it was like, and I don't know that you'd want to go back and do it over again. To put that out there, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. I'm sure. What am I saying? Of course, like everything's fine the way it is, and he would see it that way, I'm sure. But the thing about it that's important to me, and that like when I was doing that Demise and Rise documentary, which is very much the same way, putting out like really vulnerable, really raw, like like
uncut
early recovery thing, and putting recovery out there, like a lot of people got messed up, they're with their seeking prestige and like this and that, And I was terrified about that. I said, what am I doing with this documentary? Am I like, digging my own grave? Because here I'm putting it out there, waving the flag, look at me. It wasn't, when I went to go watch that early draft of the documentary, it wasn't that I was like nervous about, it threw me off that it had that effect on me. I was less than a year sober at that time while they were making it. And I brought somebody who had like 18 years of sobriety to go and said, I want to do this right. You bring along, you watch it with me because you know better than I do. I want you to scour this thing for any traditions violations. I want to make sure this thing's clean, and I don't trust myself to do it. So like, you can come in. That was why I brought him. And he watched, he said, no, that's clean. That's okay. And, you're not saying you're all better, you're just like sharing your thing. He said, it's okay, and then so that was okay with that. But I walk out and all of a sudden I can taste drugs in my mouth because I just saw it on the screen. Right. And so I couldn't watch it anymore, But I I was shit scared about putting this out there. What am I doing with it? Am I doomed because I'm putting this out there, waving the flag, like with everything I've been describing? And what James Hetfield, I was like, you know what? James Hetfield put it out there exactly the same way. He put it out there, and maybe it was, it was risky to do that, but he got away with it. It came and it went, and he didn't go on he didn't go start fucking writing songs about making amends. You know, he like that documentary about his early recovery. It came and it went, and he went doing what he does. And he's still, I'm sure, super active in recovery, but he's not leading with that. He's not and so I really modeled how, I'm deliberate to model how I approach things by that. I had my early, early recovery documentary come out, The Demise and Rise. I got through it. It came and it went, and it's out there, and I don't regret it. But, I don't professionalize my recovery. That's why I shy away from anything that's just for recovery.
Right.
I'm like, okay, and then just recovery and the media, it's a bad mix for me. I just not to put you down or anything, and I think you're approaching it in a way that's perfect.
You like this? Do you kind of like what we got rolling?
I think you're approaching it in a way that's clean, and I'm not criticizing you, and I don't want you to feel that.
I like the input because I believe in what you believe in, and I speak the same language as you, is because I don't want to hurt anybody. Man, we have we got people waving at me. I think
what you're doing is all right. Candidly, I thought, when you said, okay, coming up after this break, we're going to talk about what we do to stay sober.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, that's you kind of can't properly do that at the level of press, radio, and film.
I agree.
So there's inherently a flaw in attempting to, do a media broadcast about what we do to stay sober. And as long as we recognize that, and, that's fine. But I think where, again, I'm not worried about how it's going to reflect on the program, and I'm not worried. I just, for me, myself, I really have to have separation between my professional career and my recovery, because if that line gets blurry and I become professionally sober, then
I get you.
And that's reflected in the statistics. I couldn't believe, and I still have trouble believing it, but as I understand it, the single profession or any profession with the highest rate of relapse is those who work in recovery. Which is mind-boggling to me. It's the counselors, it's the sober companions, it's people who work in the technicians in the rehab, people who work in the field of recovery relapse the most, and that's scary. That's why when people go and when people go and they take big speaking fees, I've been offered, hey, we'll pay you to come speak at a rehab. There is no way I would ever accept money to go speak about recovery. God, no, and that's for some people, a lot of people kind of squandered their time while they're getting loaded, and then they end up in recovery. Now they're newly sober, and they think, well, shit, I don't have a trade, my trade was sticking needles in my arm. I don't, what do I do now? And I think a lot of people, for lack of any other better idea, they're like, oh, well, I'll become a drug counselor.
Right.
And I mean, that's fine if you want to do that, but again, just the same way that I feel it's really important for me to have separation between my professional career and my recovery, it's extra double important for people to do that when they work in recovery, which is really kind of crazy to think, okay, I spent the whole day in a rehab center, talking to the patients and helping them stay sober as my career. And now that I clock out, when I walk out of that rehab, it is so fucking critical that now I have a separation and walk into my program. That's not my career. It's too quick I think a lot of people, they think, oh, well, I spent the whole day talking to addicts, helping them out at my work. Now I don't have to go to, you know, do anything for my recovery. But they need that even more, because without that separation, then all of a sudden, what are you doing it for?
Thank you so much, Steve-O. I mean, this is such an honor. You have helped me so much today, and we want to be a platform where we help. This is not about me or anything like that, and you're doing great. And thank you so much. This is awesome.
And I'm super grateful for it as well, because
I know you are. I can tell.
Here, I've talked about a bunch of things that are really important to me, and I think I've been careful to do it in a way that I don't feel, you know, like. I mean, I know that, like, here we're talking at the level of press, radio, and film, and I know damn well that in my personal life, when nobody's watching, and I know what I got to do, like on the other side of the wall,
right?
You know, and I gotta have that separation, you know. But yeah, these are thoughts that I've never articulated in an interview.
Great job. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
And it's nothing more powerful than one alcoholic working with another, one drug addict working with another. Check out the great Steve-O at the Improv Addison. Thank you so much.
And how about that? I didn't bitch out and leave before the. I stayed for the whole show.
You did so good, man.
All right.
That's the power, and that's why. I mean, I'm really honored and emotional, because you've really helped me. Because for 1 hour, I got out of self. I listened, because I'm a selfish sucker, and I appreciate you helping me today stay clean and sober for another hour. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow. I got 3 words. I got 8 letters and 1 meaning, and that is I love you. Thank you so much for the great show. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.
All right.
3 words, 8 letters, 1 meaning. Let's go.
Came a long way sitting in a prison, thinking it was the only place that ever fitted. Now Michael Molthan with us, and you know we got the vision. This is not a competition, man, it's all about the mission. This is M to the rock you don't stop. The show start on a weekday right at 7 o'clock. Mad Miles in the booth, we got Johnny on sound. Call Julie the boss lady, let her know what's going down.
This is M to the rock that don't stop. The show start on a weekday right at 7 o'clock. Got the paparazzo, call him Danny Cambo. With the pics, you can't pick, every one of them is gold. And that one young lady that wants you to be free. Everybody say it with me. Love you, Mama P. Love you, Mama P.